going on, everyone? I'm so excited waking up today, seeing so many gappers on scan. We have BBIG, ATER, we have the SPRT, the AMC, just a tons of different names. And I'm so glad that there's more volume and momentum coming back into the market. So I'm definitely expecting a really hot September. So let's start with BBIG first. This one, I traded this on the short side. This is a afternoon runner on Friday in which a stock ran up from $5 all the way to, pre-market today at 10.50s. Essentially, it doubled over the course of the weekend. But if you look at this daily chart on BBIG, this long wick around beginning of this year, you can see the highs on this day. High volume traded at 200 million shares traded. The top was around 940s. And above that, you have also like pre-market highs around 10s and 1050s. So that's going to be key for me to see whether the stock is going to be continuing the gap up to the upside, and above 10s, it could go to 12 or 13. Or if it rejects the highs around the 950s and $10, then you get some retracement to the downside. But I was looking to see how it reacts around this level. At the open, I did short the stock around 950s starter, thinking that we might get some chop and grind back to test the 10s. I did cover most of it here. I want to see if it does bounce back, which it did. It touched $10, but it didn't get filled. That $10 wick happened really fast. I don't know if anything really printed around there, but that $10, I doubt anyone got filled. It happened so quickly and then slammed right back down. After seeing that $10 rejected twice, essentially this is a double top, right? Keep in mind of the daily chart, you have the daily resistance up here in the 940s. That's why I was thinking, okay, this might start to unwind, especially when it topped out so early on by, this is like, 940, 950s. After it topped out, that's why I went in short. I covered some, first of all, because I didn't have the best average. Covered some, I waited to see if it's going to retest the 10s again to add back in. And once it failed this 950, 940s area, that's why I got in short. And I was more patient this time around. Essentially, I was waiting for the confirmation to short into it. Shorted this little wick, I didn't get stopped out. I wasn't scared because I saw the previous high set in. And then this thing just flushed. This thing I was actually halted to the downside from $9. When it sold off to like 790s, it halted. And I shorted the bounce into it, 840s, and covered into the low 780s, and I was out most of my shares by 720s. This thing took a while. When you're buying or shorting these momentum stocks, you can't just expect to have one entry, one exit. You could if you're just scalping for the smaller move, which is fine, nothing wrong with that. But for a stock that has gapped up, like we said, doubled overnight, I'm looking for a bit more. So my best cover was down here, 720s. I covered the rest of it here. I tried to re-short here around 8, thinking we might re-flush down to the move, which it did, but I didn't have the patience to hold it. I covered the re-short here. I added some more, thinking that we might get at least a test of $7 and 680s. But I didn't like the fact that it was kind of holding up, setting in higher lows. So that's why I got out all of it. And you can see after I got out at 750s, the stock tanked $1 more. So would have, could have, should have. You could always make more. But overall, I think it's a decent trade because I was really patient. Instead of trying to pick the top, whether it's at 10 or 10.20 or $9, I let it set in lower highs and have clear risk reward to go in short with a good stop out level. So it was really worth it. And locate was kind of expensive on this, but with the range it gave, it was really good on the downside. So this thing, I think, still has more room to fade. Could potentially go to 6 or even back to where it came from on Friday, which is 530s near the end of the day, either today or tomorrow. But for now, I'm all done with the stock. Now, the next stock I traded is AMC on the long side. You guys know I'm always better at trading AMC on the long side. But AMC today, as we discussed last week, I thought that was just the first move on the daily chart when we had the big squeeze. I did try to see if we're going to get more follow through the secondary days and then also on Friday. On Friday, I also long the stock, but that ended up just being a break-even trade. It didn't really break out. But technically speaking, if you look at a daily chart, that candle, even though the breakout wasn't as strong, it was still a green day on Friday. So today, I want to see if it can break out through Friday's highs. Essentially, Friday's highs were around 41.60s. And also, if you look at a daily chart, there's a level around $42. $42 right here, you can see that was rejected once here back in the middle of July. And that's also the areas of support zone from earlier in June and earlier in July. So that's the reason that's an important level to look at for AMC today. And that $42 level is also the pre-market highs, right here. You can see pre-market today, it had a small gap from $40.80 to $42. It did pull back, rejecting that $42 level first, and that's why I got in long. I was buying the dips around 41.50s and then later around 41.40s after seeing that it's holding the lows, correct? I got in long, sold some small, and then got in back in on the VWAP reclaim right here, added on the long side once it reclaimed VWAP, seeing the volume coming in, right? I always look at volume and I use VWAP. These two are the only indicators I use when I am trading. Doing day trading anyways. These two only indicators. Everything else, I just find them lacking, just a lot of lag in all the other indicators. So that's why I don't like using too much indicators. And with just VWAP and volume, I get to read the price action a lot closer. So that's my preference. Not saying you can't use indicators, you do whatever you want. But for me, I prefer to just use the candlesticks, volume, and also VWAP. So that's the reason I got in long near here, 41.50s, added on the VWAP reclaim, added on this little dip here, 42.30s. And at that point, I'm at full size. So it's important to make sure that it's going to hold up this $42 area. Yes, it did sell off a little bit, but 41.80s, that's not terrible, right? And only if it does break down VWAP, break down 42 and holds beneath it, then I have to stop out for a loss. But it actually held up. So if you look at it, use the 2-minute or the 5-minute candle, the stock didn't hold below $42. It was fine. That's why I held. Sold some into the 43s and then out all of it around 43.60s and $44. So nice little long from 41.80s average after all the ads. So sold into the 44s, and I did try to go back in smaller size this time around 43.60s. Added some more here. Even here, after I see that it's reclaiming the highs, you can see a lot of times with AMC is after setting a high, sometimes they test VWAP, but the fact that it just keep on these holding these higher lows means it's still strong. So that's the reason I got back in on AMC on the long side. Even though with smaller size was still decent. When I sold some into the 44s, some more trimmed more positions, so I only have small size left, and I got back in. I sold it into the 44.70, seeing that it's rejecting $45. So that's why I started giving back some profits on AMC here, seeing that it's not really bouncing, and then I just got stopped out here. So this trade was a loss. I got back in again around 43.80s, and then later on around 43.40s. I also stopped out for basically break even on this trade, and the stock just ended up going back higher to test $45. But overall, I did give back some on the long side, the re-entries. But my initial long was the one on full size. So I'm really happy about this trade. Even though I didn't quite get the top at $45, but I still caught the meat of the move. Now, I cannot just mention the winners and never talk about the losers. My loser on the day is this stock, MMAT. And it's actually not a good trade because it was a winner. And I could have sold, I should have sold, and I didn't. And I kind of let it go for a little bit too long. So when you turn a winner into a loser, that's a bad trade, in my opinion. MMAT, the plan was to let it reclaim the key level around 5.10s, which it did after the morning breakout. You can see when it broke out at 5 all the way to 5.80s, had a huge pullback. So I wasn't watching it at that point, but after seeing that it's reclaiming the highs, you can see it pull back all the way to a low of $5, went back up to VWAP, pull back again to 510s, this area is what we consider higher lows, right? So it broke the intraday downtrend. It's holding the highs. So that's why I got in long at right here, 530s, thinking that we're going to do a VWAP reclaim and push to test potentially the highs of the day and potentially even higher on the daily. But with this kind of setup that I play, I will buy the higher lows, 530s, and add on higher highs, sure. But it's always important to sell into the breakout move, especially when it's these small cap stocks that's up with no news. So my mistake here is not selling at these partial position into the breakout. I think I got a little bit greedy. Yes, I did get a little bit greedy. I was looking for potentially 570s or 580s, but it just didn't happen. You can see after that 560s rejected, it held like a lower high. But at that point, I should have at least taken some profit or just get out and reassess my trade again for later for at least a smaller profit. But I just kind of let it go on for a little bit too long. But when it comes to the small caps, when your thesis is no longer working in your favor, you have to stop out. Otherwise, imagine if I was holding my position from 540s average all the way down to now 440s. That would not be fun. This would be what we call bag holding. And again, we're not holding the LVs or the Gucci's. We're holding the broken stocks like Forever 21 and H&M. All right, it's time for our Q&As. The first question is from Net Benny. Mind to share your approach on setting stop loss. So my approach, not saying this is the right way or you should do this, but for me, what I personally do is my way of setting stop loss is always different for each setup. Your stop loss should be the area in which your setup no longer makes sense. So for example, on my trade, that's a loser on MMAT on the long side. If my whole thesis is to long these higher lows below VWAP, I did get in 530 and I even added here 540s, then this thing should keep up the uptrend and especially has to hold that VWAP area. That's why I use as an overall over-under and see whether the stock is holding up strength or not. And after seeing that it's not holding VWAP, right? You can see, yeah, sure, it held here and here, but after it tried to bounce and gets rejected, so that means my thesis is no longer valid, right? It's not holding VWAP. So that's why I stopped out here at 528. Of course, everyone set their stops differently. Some people don't even use stops. But for me, the way I do it is I set it at the areas in which my setup or my strategy is no longer valid. And if you're thinking to yourself right now after hearing what I just said, well, what exactly is my setup and what is my strategy? Then you should probably take a step back and kind of reevaluate what exactly is the setup you're trading. And you should know at which point is your setup no longer working. Then that should be your stops. The second question is a fun one from I See Flowers. Do you have high blood pressure for doing this profession? The answer is no, but I really don't sleep enough. If you have any more questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer them, unless I've already made videos about them in the past. I'm really excited that momentum is coming back to the market. We're seeing more gappers for both the small caps and the large caps. So let's see what the rest of the week brings. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and the bad jokes. If you want to see more day trading content, make sure to subscribe and follow me on Twitter and Instagram for more. If you'd like to trade with me daily and get my free weekend watch list and trading journal, make sure to check out the links below for more resources. Stay green, stay positive, and I'll see you guys next time.